Senator Amy Klobuchar, busy couple of days for you, heading
Yes.
back to D.C. tomorrow. There have been a growing, calls from the GOP side of the aisle now in Congress, some GOP governors, about a fair, transparent, thorough investigation. What do you see happening here?
I think there's a sea change going on, and what we knew was happening in Minnesota, whether you're Democrat or Republican, that this was getting out of hand. We have 3,000 ICE agents and only 1,100 sworn officers in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Our 10 metro police departments, there's more ICE agents here. And out of balance, resulting in horrific shootings, of course. 2 out of the 3 killings in Minnesota have been at the hands of in Minneapolis have been at the hands of federal agents. And so that's where we are. And what has happened with I would say the videos of the shooting of Alex Preddy, and people seeing, at first it's confusing, but then when you see the enlargement of the videos with the fact that he was a lawful gun owner and that gun was in the holster and it was removed by federal agents and then he was shot in the back, those things are very chilling for the people of this country. So the pushback yesterday was intense. Finally, we had some Republican senators, House members, gun owners, the NRA, some local legislators saying enough. We need a transparent investigation, but a number of them saying this is not okay. Police chiefs in Minnesota and across the country. And I think that has gotten to a pitched level. So what we've been seeing for weeks has finally made it in a big way into the White House.
Had you been hearing any of that GOP concern prior to Saturday? Had it been starting to bubble up?
I had some discussions with Republican senators, so some of it was out there. But honestly, I think yesterday was the breaking point. And that has led, of course, to the president having a discussion with Governor Walz and, not doing a mean tweet coming out of it. And I actually have been talking to various people in the administration for weeks, as have a number of people, our police chiefs, the business community, obviously Chief O'Hara, and really pleading with them to say, stop this. And basically 3,000 ICE agents, get them out of here. They're not making us safe. They're making us less safe. Fraud investigation, please help with that. Apprehending violent offenders, yes, that is a worthy purpose for everyone. But that's not what this has turned into. So I'm hoping that this de-escalation will continue. We need them out of our towns. It's not just Minneapolis-St. Paul, suburbs, small towns.
Yeah, you mentioned the president having a conversation with Governor Walz. I believe you've been in touch with parts of the administration as well. And now the border czar, Tom Homan's being dispatched here. What does all this mean collectively then?
I hope, and this administration can change course very quickly, but I hope that this leads to a decision that while work will continue to be done on violent offenders and on fraud, that this huge number of ICE agents, some of whom are clearly not trained as our police officers are in Minnesota, that they simply leave our state.
You think that's actually nearing the potential outcome of that?
I hope so.
You don't know.
This is based on my discussions with Republicans of yesterday and this morning, and certainly the police chiefs coming out statewide and nationally asking for a change and making very clear that they are concerned about the rule of law and following police procedures. That's got to, at some level, affect the president.
And if Tom Homan, the border czar, is coming here, that signals what?
Well, I don't agree with everything he does, but he is the boss of, clearly of the border control involvement in the shooting of Alex Preddy is going to be a major issue going forward. So I hope that he's coming here to de-escalate and to say, we're going to listen to the police chiefs, listen to the business community, listen to elected leaders. And we have said enough is enough.
As a former prosecutor, Hennepin County Attorney, I want to get your take on this. When the head of the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension discloses they were denied access to the scene, then got a signed warrant, and were still denied access to the scene. As a former prosecutor, How does that strike you?
Well, this is unbelievable to me because we have a very professional Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. They have investigated heinous murders. They have investigated police-involved shootings before. They have investigated, sex rings, you name it. They are very good. And we have always been able to coordinate FBI, Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, local county attorney's office, U.S. attorney, and for them to be denied access is just an unbelievable thing. I hope that will also change. I know that they are undergoing the investigation of this. Regardless, they want to get everything, not just the videos, and they have to turn those over. And part of this ICE problem of these untrained groups of officers just from other states that don't know our Minnesota roaming our streets is going to result in some very serious situations if they don't leave soon. It has already resulted in 2 deaths.
As you head back to Washington, another topic is, not supporting funding, continued funding for ICE, which brings concerns of maybe a partial government shutdown. I mean, what's the situation here?
Okay, so the important thing to know is we have had a number of bipartisan bills. So that if we can get, there's 5 bills, and if we can get these bills done, and which I support outside of ICE, then it would be a focus on ICE. And we've already funded the government through bipartisan bills, so it would not be, depending on how the Republicans want to handle this, some across-the-board shutdown. This discussion of our ability to represent our constituents and say, this has got to change. We want immigration enforcement. We want order at the border. But what we don't want is groups of basically thugs roaming our streets, not following the law, not wearing body cameras, ramming into people's houses without judicial warrants, picking up legal citizens, not getting the proper training. They're down to 47 days of training from 5 months. And then just too much money in their budget. They increased their budget. I voted against this by 3 times. They are now bigger than the FBI. They have $75 billion, and you can see the results of it with this surge. I would rather use that money for local law enforcement. Let's give this to the police officers in our state and help our state in other ways with health care and the like. We're always going to have immigration enforcement. We should. But the way it's being run now is just wrong.
So is that potential budget funding, could that lead to a dispute that might lead to?
So it could lead to a partial shutdown. It could lead to some agreement to make reforms. There's all kinds of outcomes here. But for us to just say, oh yeah, hey, we're going to keep funding ICE at its current levels and let them keep doing this in the cities of America, even if they pull out of Minnesota, that's not good.
And lastly, I know you filed papers to potentially run for governor. I'm not going to ask you where your mind's at there because you'll make an announcement when you decide to make an announcement. But how has the events of recent days impacted that decision making, maybe in terms of just a time frame in making a decision, or just some of the questions and things you have to consider?
Well, clearly, for me, I like my job now, but I love my state more. And so that's going into the timing of this. I clearly, right now, when we're dealing with this crisis in our state, you've got to put politics aside. But I am clearly, I filed papers. I wouldn't have done that if I wasn't interested in doing this, and so stay tuned.
Thank you. U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, appreciate the time.
Thank you.
All right. All right, yeah, and heading back to D.C. tomorrow. So, what really is interesting is to get the sense that there's some changes potentially happening here. Now, you don't want to get ahead of yourself because you don't know, but the sense in the air between sort of the toned down phone call between President Trump and Governor Walz, the conversations that she had with the White House, the fact that Tom Homan is being sent here to sort of take the lead on this, and just some other things that give the sense that there is a wind down here that is going to happen, which we didn't feel that yesterday.
No, we didn't, and it is, it's a tone shift here, and I think maybe as we had time to think about it, of course this had happened Saturday, and I feel like a lot of people are starting to sit in that for a little bit, and we can see some of the dominoes moving in a sense, and you brought up Tom Homer, the border czar. She did kind of speak on that a little bit, saying,
He's the boss.
Welcome. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't agree with everything he said,
but
he's the boss.
And when you're sending the boss to town, and two, there's been a number of, and you've seen this repeatedly in various media, legacy newspapers and broadcast that seem to be daily. There's another investigation or analysis of the videos in terms of the gun, and they all come to the same conclusion. And these are, large names in journalism.
Yeah.
And so, I asked about that, and she did mention, yes, the Republican colleagues are seeing those repeated headlines, repeated video analysis coming out, one after another, after another, after another, that all reach the same conclusion, that he never brandished the gun, that he was disarmed at the time that the shots were fired, or the conclusions of those analysis. And she said that absolutely has an impact on colleagues.
We are seeing that even today. So many Republicans speaking out now, asking, a little more questions than what we were hearing before. Did you get a sense of, is she at the point where it's just like, we're tired as a community, we are tired, and that's what I'm going to take back to Washington?
Well, I mean, certainly going to take back to Washington that, but also that this is just reached a point that it should have never reached, that this is 3 shootings involving ICE, 2 fatal shootings involving ICE
in about 3 weeks,
in several weeks, and that it should never have gotten to this point. This cannot go on, and that, again, in talking to colleagues and saying that we are not going to approve funding for ICE, and there's Republicans joining Democrats on that as well, that all of that changes sort of the layout of the conversation. And again, the videos speak very loudly for a lot of people.
Does she really talk about the videos in that perspective of, there have been many videos that are hard to watch, but the community is watching, the country is watching?
I chatted with her a little bit about the videos, and just she'd kind of, I don't know the exact wording, but just in terms of the clarity of the videos, of showing the chain of events, and especially as more and more people, including gun rights advocates like the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus and the NRA, disputing what the national, what the Department of Homeland Security is saying. She said, those videos continue to be more and more powerful each day as people really get good looks at them.
Yeah. That is just one of the voices that we are hearing from today. There's so many developments, as you know, Rob, that we're just trying to bottle up here and explain it to some of our viewers. But yeah, a lot of people reacting off of Operation Metro Surge, and especially after what happened on Saturday, the deadly shooting of Alex Preddy.